For 2 years, the richest man in the city sat beside a bed and begged God for one thing money could not buy. His granddaughter would not open her eyes. Chief Gabriel Nwosu owned buildings that touched the clouds, ships that crossed oceans, and companies whose decisions could move entire markets. When he entered a room, powerful men stood without being told. Yet every morning, he walked into a pale blue bedroom at the end of the East Wing and discovered the same humiliating truth. Not one coin of his fortune could make Adana lift a single eyelid. She was 26 years old, trained since childhood to inherit his empire, and had been asleep for 2 years. Doctors came with machines, reports, and careful voices. Each week they wrote the same words. No change. On a gray Tuesday morning, Chief Gabriel stood at the foot of her bed and asked the doctor to stop protecting him. "Tell me the truth. Do not pity me." The doctor lowered his eyes. "Chief, we have tried everything. Her body remains alive, but her mind has not responded. The chance of her waking is now very small." The old man did not blink. A man who had survived wars, betrayals, and boardrooms had learned that the face was the last thing one should surrender. After the doctor left, he summoned Mr. Udo, the gray-haired aide who had served him for 30 years. "Bring me the old file." Mr. Udo hesitated. "The one about Adana's birth?" "That one." Inside the worn brown folder lay a single sheet written by a village elder during the week Adana was born. "This child will face a terrible danger in her life. Only a man born on this day can help her escape death." Below the sentence was a date. "I kept this for 26 years, the chief said. "I never truly believed it." "You are a businessman, sir." "Yes, and business has failed me. Medicine has failed me. Pride has failed me." He smoothed the paper with 2 fingers. "Find the man born on this date." 2 weeks later, Mr. Udo returned with a name. Chinedu Okafor. The Okafors were known for loud wealth, large cars, and a construction company built on favors, shortcuts, and debts nobody discussed. Their son Chinedu had never been told no by anyone who mattered to him. When the request arrived, he threw his jacket across the family sofa. "I will not marry a woman in a coma." His father's anger was mixed with fear. "Do you understand who Chief Gabriel is? If we refuse him, openly refuse him, every contract we depend on may disappear. Then tell him I traveled. Tell him I am sick." Mrs. Ifeoma Okafor, who had been silent, set down her cup. "There is another way." Her husband looked at her. "What way?" "Kelechi." The room became still. "Kelechi was born the same day as Chinedu," she said. "His mother went into labor the same morning I did. The chief wants a birth date, not a face. We send the maid's son." Her husband stared at her. "If the Nwosu family discovers this, we are finished." "Who will tell them?" Chinedu slowly began to smile. Kelechi Ochieke was 26 and had spent 20 years in the small room behind the Okafor's kitchen. His mother, Mama Ngozi, had entered that house as a widow when he was 6. She scrubbed floors, carried pots, and raised him in a room no larger than a pantry. She had no money, but she raised him well, which is often the more difficult achievement. Kelechi was tall, quiet, and careful with words. He had educated himself through scholarships and night work. He listened in a way that made people reveal more than they intended, and hidden beneath his mattress was an old notebook filled with drawings no one had ever seen. When the Okafors called him into the sitting room, Mr. Okafor did not invite him to sit. "We have found a marriage for you." "Marriage?" "You will marry Adana Nwosu." Kelechi understood the trick immediately. "They asked for your son, sir. They asked for a man born on a certain day. I cannot enter another man's marriage under a false name." Mrs. Okafor rose sharply. "Do not speak as though you have forgotten who fed you. My mother worked for every meal we ate here." Mr. Okafor stepped closer. "When you and your mother had nowhere to go, who took you in? When she was sick, who allowed her to remain? You did. Then repay the kindness. My mother has only me. If this goes wrong, what will happen to her?" "That depends on you," Mr. Okafor said softly. "If you refuse, she leaves today. If you agree, she stays, eats, and rests. There are moments when the world does not offer a good choice. It only offers a choice, and the goodness must come from the person making it. Kelechi lowered his eyes. I will do it. That night, Mama Ngozi cried until her thin shoulders shook. They are sending you into danger because of me. No, Mama. These rich people can use a person and throw him away like a wrapper. Kelechi knelt before her. I agreed because I want you safe, but I will not lose myself in that house. She held his face between her rough hands. That is what pains me. You have endured too much already, and you are only 26. There was no wedding worthy of the name. A judge, a document, 4 witnesses, and a room that smelled faintly of antiseptic. Before the papers were signed, Mr. Okafor presented Kelechi to the chief. This is my son, Chinedu. Kelechi shook the old man's hand and hated every second of it. So you are Chinedu, Chief Gabriel said. You are entering my family today. Call me Grandpa. Yes, Grandpa. The chief led him through the long eastern hallway and opened the pale blue door. This is my granddaughter, Adana. Kelechi stopped. No one had prepared him for the sight of a young woman lying beneath a white blanket, her hands folded over her waist, sunlight resting across her face like a blessing she was not awake to receive. She has been this way for 2 years, the chief said. Kelechi stood in silence, then tried to soften the grief filling the room. At least she will not quarrel with me for coming late. A sound escaped the old man. It was not quite laughter, but it was the closest that bedroom had heard in 2 years. She would have liked that, he said. My Adana had a sharp mouth. He handed Kelechi a thick envelope and offered him a car from the garage. Grandpa, this is too much. You are Adana's husband now. Nobody will say I brought a son-in-law into this house and treated him like a servant. The words struck a place in Kelechi that had been empty for years. That night, he sat on the sofa beside his sleeping wife. This life is strange, he told her. I came here carrying another man's name, and your family is treating me as though I matter. The monitor answered with its patient rhythm. I am sorry. You did not choose this either. He slept on the sofa. The next morning, Sister Bene, Adana's nurse, found him folded beneath a small blanket. Why did you not sleep on the bed? She did not agree to this marriage with her own mouth, he said. She cannot say yes or no. That does not give me the right to behave carelessly. If she wakes and wants to send me away, she may do so. Until then, I will respect her. Sister Bene repeated those words to the chief. Maybe this boy is not a mistake, the old man murmured. For 3 weeks, Kelechi remained beside Adana. He read in her room, helped the nurses turn her, spoke to her when the silence became too heavy, and continued sleeping on the sofa. He never touched the allowance except to send medicine and food to his mother. Then Chinedu called. My father wants to know what is happening with the project. What project? The contract the Nwosu family is supposed to give us. Ask the old man. Push him. I agreed to protect my mother. I did not agree to steal business for your family. Have you forgotten where your mother still lives? Kelechi's hand tightened around the phone. Do not threaten her. Then do what you were sent to do. I will not. Chinedu laughed and mentioned Uchechi, the woman Kelechi had once hoped to marry, the woman who left him for Chinedu when she decided love could not pay rent. She chose me because I was better than you. You only picked up what I had already put down, Kelechi said, and ended the call. The threat remained with him, but something had changed. Inside the Nwosu house, people addressed him with respect. The fear he once felt whenever Chinedu raised his voice was beginning to loosen. A few days later, Chief Gabriel summoned him. The company needs a marketing director. There is also a sales position, or I could place you at the head of a subsidiary. Kelechi stared at him. Grandpa, I cannot accept any of those. Very few men had ever refused Chief Gabriel Nwosu. Why? Because I am not ready for a crown that heavy. If you put it on my head now, it may crush me, and worse, it may crush the people beneath me. Let me start small. Let me learn beside those who do the work. The chief studied him for a long time. You are not greedy. I only know my size. A man who knows his size can grow. A man who lies to himself will fall. Then start small, the old man said, but I will be watching. That night, Kelechi took out the notebook he had carried from the Okafor servants' quarters. Its spine was held together with tape. Inside were floor plans, elevations, ventilation systems, load calculations, and designs for small, safe, affordable houses. He drew a kitchen window and shaded it carefully. "My mother's room had no window," he whispered. 20 years, no window. The monitor beeped. Then it changed. Kelechi looked up. The bed was empty. His notebook fell from his hands. Adana? He touched the mattress. The sheets were warm. "I was in a coma," said a voice behind him. "I am not a ghost." He turned so fast he nearly fell. Adana stood against the wall, thinner than she should have been, one hand braced for balance. Her hair hung loose around her shoulders. Her eyes were open, dark, clear, and furious.
"Who are you?"
she asked. The lie rose into his mouth. "I am your husband. I heard you panicking. You sounded like a man waiting for his wife to die." "No, I was frightened. Do not lie to me. I have been asleep for 2 years. My ears work perfectly." She swayed. He reached toward her. "Do not touch me." He raised both hands and immediately stepped back. Something shifted in her expression. "At least you understand that." Then he called her grandfather. Chief Gabriel came down the hallway faster than any 81-year-old man should have moved. "Adana, Grandpa, my child, you came back." She collapsed against him. "I heard your voice, many times." Doctors arrived, tested her reflexes, questioned her memory, and spoke in astonished whispers. Her mind was clear. Her body was weak, but alive. Outside the room, the chief gripped Kelechi's shoulders. "You entered this house, and my Adana woke." Kelechi opened his mouth to confess. "Grandpa, I—" But the old man was already calling for a celebration, and the moment slipped away. That evening, Ridgeway Hill came alive. Every light burned. The kitchen roared. Servants who had learned to move like shadows now laughed openly in the corridors. Adana came to dinner in a wheelchair she resented. "My granddaughter has returned," Chief Gabriel announced, and her husband remained beside her through everything. Adana looked across the table. "Yes," she said evenly, "my husband." When the chief spoke of a second, public wedding and future great-grandchildren, Kelechi choked on his water. Adana watched him with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Later she found his notebook. "What is this?" "Nothing important." "Bring it." She turned the pages slowly. 2 years of sleep had not dulled the mind her grandfather had trained. She understood structure, contracts, and talent when she saw them. "You studied business," she said. "Why do you draw like an architect?" "It is a personal interest. You are hiding a great many things. You should rest." "I rested for 2 years. Do not tell me to rest." Within days, Adana hired her own investigators. She did not ask her grandfather. She wanted the truth before anyone could soften it for her. 9 days later, a file was placed in her hands. The man in her house was not Chinedu Okafor. He was Kelechi Ochieke, the housemaid's son, sent as a replacement under a borrowed name. She took him into the garden. "Who are you?" He did not pretend. "My name is Kelechi Ochieke." So everything was a lie. "I am sorry. You entered my family under another man's name. You married me while I could not speak. You collected my grandfather's trust. I did not come to harm either of you." "Then why are you here?" "The Okafors forced me. Chinedu refused because you were in a coma. His mother remembered that I shared his birth date. They threatened to throw my mother into the street if I refused." "And you agreed?" "At that time, I had no power to protect her." Adana stared at him. Anger burned through her, but the man before her did not hide behind excuses. "If you want this marriage ended," he said, "I will sign whatever you place before me today." "You want a divorce?" "I want you to have a choice. You never had one." They went to Chief Gabriel together. "Grandpa, this man is not Chinedu." "I know." Both of them turned. The chief tapped a folder on his desk. "I have known for 6 days. I wanted to hear him speak." Kelechi stood straight. "My real name is Kelechi Ochieke. I entered this house falsely. I accept whatever punishment you decide. Did you come to steal from me? No. To harm Adana? Never. Were you forced? Yes. The chief nodded. Then the Okafors carry the greater shame. He still lied, Adana said. Yes. And he was also used. He married me under a false name. And yet he slept on a sofa for 3 weeks when he could have behaved differently and no one would have stopped him. Adana had no answer, which angered her more. Chief Gabriel turned toward the window. The warning said a man born on a certain day would help you pass through danger. We believed it was Chinedu, but Chinedu never entered this house. Kelechi did. You woke after he came. Coincidence? Perhaps. I am too old to believe every strange thing is meaningless. Kelechi looked at Adana. I am still willing to leave if she wishes. No one will speak of divorce today, the chief said. Adana, I am not commanding you to love him. I am asking you to see the whole truth before throwing a man away. Kelechi, from this moment, no more lies. Yes, sir. In the hallway, Adana stopped him. I have not forgiven you. I know. Then why do you look relieved? Because for the first time since I entered this house, someone knows my real name. 2 weeks later, the chief sent them to the National Design and Construction Summit as representatives of the Nwosu family. Adana resisted. She was still recovering, and she did not want to appear publicly beside a husband she did not trust. The city will soon know you are awake, her grandfather said. I want them to see you standing, not hear it as gossip. In the car, she warned Kelechi not to embarrass her, upset the chief, or answer questions unless she allowed it. I know you are still hiding things, she said. Perhaps, but not everything hidden is evil. The ballroom was full of people who checked a person's clothes before checking their character. They had been inside 4 minutes when Chinedu crossed the marble floor with a drink in his hand. Kelechi, wearing a suit as though you own the place. Why are you here? Should you not be home wiping your sleeping wife's mouth? Mind how you speak. Chinedu laughed loudly enough to gather an audience. You are still the maid's son. You grew up eating from our kitchen. If I say sit, you sit. Then Uchechi appeared beside him in an emerald dress. Kelechi, I heard you married into the Nwosu family. A woman in a coma? You really fell low. You made your choice, he said. Remain with it. Chinedu called for security and claimed Kelechi had entered with a false invitation. Poor people always want to stand where they do not belong, he announced. His eyes moved to Adana, who stood quietly in a simple dark dress. And you, fine girl, how much did he pay you to stand beside him? Adana stepped forward. Call Mr. Madhu. 90 seconds later, the chairman of the association crossed the room. Adana Nwosu, I heard you were recovering. Good evening, Mr. Madhu. And this gentleman? My husband. The word fell like a dropped tray. This man, Adana continued, publicly insulted me and attempted to have my husband removed. Mr. Madhu turned to Chinedu. You insulted Adana Nwosu? I did not know who she was. Adana's voice remained calm. You did not know she was a human being deserving respect. Mr. Madhu ordered Chinedu removed and blacklisted the Okafor family from every project under the association. When security seized him, Kelechi spoke. There is no need to disgrace him further. Let him leave quietly. Adana watched him. She had expected revenge. Instead, he protected the dignity of the man who had spent years denying his. Uchechi begged next. I did not know who you were. But you knew who he was, Adana replied. You knew he had once loved you, and still you mocked him when you believed he was powerless. Kelechi looked at Uchechi without anger. You only understand you were wrong because punishment arrived. He walked away. Across the ballroom, a woman named Amaka Easy found a sketch that had fallen from his pocket. She was a director at Vision Studio, the most respected architectural firm in the country. She studied the 6 lines on the page and felt the floor shift beneath her. I know this hand, she whispered. The drive home was quieter than the drive to the summit, but the silence had changed. Did Chinedu always speak to you that way? Adana asked. He made noise. I learned not to hear it. He called you a dog. He has been barking since childhood. Why did you not tell my grandfather everything? Because my mother still lived under their roof. And now? Now I am tired of lying, but I am still afraid for her. Adana looked through the window. If I had known earlier, I would have dealt with him more severely. You wanted to beat him? I wanted to finish him. Kelechi glanced at her. What? For a moment, you sounded as though you cared. I hate injustice. Of course. Do not say that as though you do not believe me. I am learning from you. News of the summit traveled quickly. Within 11 days, 3 companies canceled contracts with the Okafors. Partners who had tolerated their shortcuts no longer wished to be associated with them. Mr. Okafor blamed Chinedu. Mrs. Okafor blamed everyone except herself. Uchechi lost her job and apartment when her business ties to the family were examined. Chinedu, who had once promised to protect her, threw her out when she asked for help. Desperate, she went to Kelechi. I have lost everything. Please speak to Adana. Tell them it was a mistake. You mocked me in a room full of strangers. I was foolish. I thought money was everything. Now I know you are better than him. Now, Kelechi said. You know it now because you need something. He felt no triumph, only exhaustion. I do not hate you, but the road we shared ended a long time ago. Neither of them noticed Adana standing at the end of the corridor until she spoke. Too late. After Uchechi left, Kelechi tried to explain. Nothing happened. Why are you explaining? Because you look angry. I am not angry. You are. Good night. She closed the door in his face. The next evening, Kelechi arrived with a tray of food he had cooked himself. I am not hungry, Adana said. Then I will leave it for later. As he turned away, she asked whether Uchechi had come to remind him of old promises. She came because she had lost things. I told her I could not help her. Whatever I felt ended when she chose betrayal. I suffered, and then I healed. I will not return. Adana tasted the food. Is it bad? He asked. It is not terrible. That may be the highest praise you have ever given me. She ate a little more, then said without looking up, That sofa is bad for your back. Are you sending me out of the room? Did I say that? No. You may sleep on the bed. Keep to your side. He remained frozen for several seconds. If you stand there like a statue, I will change my mind. 10 minutes later, in the dark, she asked why he was lying on the very edge. I am trying to stay alive. She laughed. It was the first time he had heard that sound from her, and long after she fell asleep, he remained awake, thinking that the marriage no longer felt only like a trap. It felt like a door opening. Chinedu came to the estate days later with an envelope of money. Take this and leave her. There is enough for you and your sick mother to live comfortably for years. Why? Adana should have been my wife. The Nwosu wealth should have entered my family. You stole my place. You refused the place. I refused a woman in a coma. I did not refuse the wealth. Kelechi pushed the envelope back. You think everything can be bought. Most things can. Then keep losing the ones that cannot. Chinedu grabbed his arm. Do not touch me again. A voice sounded from the steps. Touch him again and see what happens. Adana stood above them with 2 security men behind her. Chinedu laughed bitterly. The maid's son hides behind a woman. You came to bribe my husband. He is not worthy of you. And who is? Me. I come from a known family. That is all you have, Adana said. Kelechi is kinder, smarter, and more honorable than you. He respects the weak. He does not throw people away when they stop being useful. If we are measuring what makes a man, he is more of one than you will ever be. When Chinedu had gone, Kelechi looked at her. You defended me again. Do not become used to it. He will keep returning, she said, because no one has truly stopped him. She ordered a complete examination of the Okafor business records, contracts, loans, invoices, and payments going back 10 years. We remove the ground beneath him, she said. Kelechi smiled faintly. I was thinking the same thing. Then help me. That was the moment the marriage stopped being a lie and became a partnership. Soon afterward, Chief Gabriel bought a modest house for Mama Ngozi. Kelechi stood in the study holding the keys, unable to speak. "You are family now," the old man said. The house had 3 bedrooms, a small garden, and, in the kitchen, a wide window. Kelechi stared at that window for a long time. For most people, it was glass and wood. For him, it was 20 years returned to his mother. 3 weeks later, at 4:12 in the afternoon, Kelechi's phone rang. His mother's voice came through thin and frightened. "My son, do not come." Then Chinedu took the phone. "You have 30 minutes, come alone. If Adana follows you, your mother pays for it." The line went dead. Adana found Kelechi standing in the middle of the room, all the color gone from his face. "What happened?" "Nothing." "Do not lie to me. I need to go. Your hands are shaking. If you care about me at all, let me pass." She stepped aside. 11 seconds after he left, she called her security chief. "Track his car. Send 2 men behind me. Quietly." The abandoned Okafor warehouse stood on an industrial road, its roof broken and its floor thick with dust. Mama Ngozi sat tied to a plastic chair. "Mama, stop there," Chinedu ordered. His shirt was untucked, his eyes red. He looked like a man who had lost everything and had decided that another person must pay for it. "Let her go," Kelechi said. "Your fight is with me. You took my life." "I took nothing. You took the Nwosu family, Adana, the respect that should have been mine. You refused her. I refused a corpse. I did not know she would wake." The words settled over the warehouse. "And that is all she ever was to you," Kelechi said. "A body, a door to wealth. You will divorce her. You will tell her you used her and never cared. You will make her hate you. Then I will take my place. I will not hand Adana to you like property." "Then your mother remains in that chair." "No." Chinedu moved toward him. A knife appeared so quickly that no one understood what was happening, until Mama Ngozi screamed. Then Adana's voice tore through the building. "Kelechi." She crossed the floor and placed herself between the 2 men. The blade entered her side. For a moment, all sound disappeared. Kelechi caught her as she fell and pressed his jacket against the wound. "Why did you come?" "You kidnapped his mother," Adana told Chinedu through clenched teeth, "because you could not win like a man. You still defend him? I will defend him as many times as necessary." "He destroyed everything." "No, your greed did that." Security men rushed through the doorway. Chinedu fled. Kelechi knelt in the dust, holding Adana as though his hands alone could keep her in the world. "Look at me, please." "You are shouting," she whispered. "Stay with me." "I like you," she said. "I have decided. Do not say it like goodbye." "I am not saying goodbye." Her eyes began to close. Her eyes began to close. "I have never been kissed by someone I actually liked. Adana, please." The corridor outside surgery became the longest place in the world. Chief Gabriel sat in a plastic chair, suddenly looking every one of his 81 years. Kelechi could not sit. "It is my fault." "No," the chief said. "If I had told her the truth, she would not have followed. She followed because she cares for you. And now she may die because of me." At 11:40 that night, the surgeon emerged. The blade missed every major organ. She lost a great deal of blood, but she arrived quickly. She will live. The old man covered his face. Adana woke at dawn and looked at Kelechi. "You look terrible. You were stabbed, and you are insulting my face." He laughed once, then lowered his forehead to the edge of her bed. "Why did you step in front of me? You would have done the same." "That is different." "How?" "I should have protected you." "He did this," she said. "Not you." Her hand closed around his. "I almost lost you, but you did not." Police arrested Chinedu that same night, after he tried to force his way into Uchechi's apartment. When she refused him, a neighbor called the authorities. The man who had spent his life asking whether others knew who his father was, finally met officers who knew exactly who he was, and did not care. The criminal charges included kidnapping and attempted murder. The financial investigation Adana had already begun opened a second, thicker file. Fake contracts, duplicated invoices, hidden loans, payments for projects never completed, funds transferred into accounts tied to Mrs. Okafor. The family company collapsed within a month. In an empty house with the electricity disconnected, Mrs. Okafor blamed her son, her husband, Kelechi, and the police. She never said the word we. That was the whole problem. Mama Ngozi visited the hospital carrying a covered pot and refused help. Hospital food cannot taste like mine. Adana ate 2 bowls. Then the old woman turned to Kelechi. If you ever hurt this girl, I will be the first to hold your shirt. She stood for you. She bled for you. Never forget it. I will not. Mama Ngozi took Adana's hand. You are no longer only Chief Gabriel's granddaughter. You are my family. 2 weeks later, they moved her into the new house. It is too much, Mama Ngozi said, looking around. You do not need permission to enjoy peace, Adana told her. Kelechi stood outside on the step, struggling with words. Thank you. For what? For seeing my mother. Most people look straight through women like her. She is easy to love. At Sunday dinner, Chief Gabriel watched the young couple with undisguised satisfaction and asked when he might expect great-grandchildren. Kelechi nearly emptied a glass of water in one swallow. The food has pepper, he claimed. My son, you are drinking like a man under interrogation. Adana laughed, but later her smile faded. She wondered whether Kelechi loved her or only felt indebted because she had saved him. She had spent too much of her life being treated as an inheritance, a duty, or an obligation. She wanted to be chosen. The question followed her to a dinner with former classmates and business leaders. Most guests were merely curious about the poor man who had married an heiress. Emeka Ume was cruel. A woman like you should not marry beneath her, he told Adana. Watch your words, Kelechi said. Emeka smiled toward the table. Low-class men are always quick to raise their voices. Sitting beside her does not make you equal to her. You left while she was fighting for her life, Kelechi replied. That is a strange way to care about her. Emeka's face hardened. You should be grateful she allows you near her. You may insult me, Kelechi said. You will not disrespect my wife. Adana stood and struck Emeka across the face. We are leaving. In the car, Kelechi stared at her. You slapped him. He earned it. People will talk. They were already talking. Let them discuss something true. You called me your wife, she said by mistake. They looked at one another and laughed until he had to pull the car aside. Emeka went home humiliated and ordered an investigation into Kelechi. The report mentioned a small design firm connected to Vision Studio. Vision Studio was legendary. 9 years earlier, an unknown young architect working under the name Mr. K.C. had built its structural design department, trained many of its finest minds, and created projects still studied across the country. He refused photographs, interviews, and awards. 6 years earlier, he vanished. Emeka believed Kelechi might know someone who could reach him. He invited Kelechi to a private meeting and slid an envelope across the table. 500,000. Arrange an introduction to Mr. K.C. Kelechi looked at the money. And if I cannot? Return it. I can try. Emeka leaned back, satisfied. He believed he had purchased the poor husband. He did not know Mr. K.C. was sitting across from him. The next morning, Amaka Izie called Kelechi. Boss, please do not end the call. I have searched for you for 6 years. Amaka, Vision Studio has survived, but it has not been the same. Your shelter design has reached the final of the National Safe and Affordable Housing Competition. Come, if you still wish to disappear afterward, I will never call again. Adana had heard enough from the doorway. Boss? She asked. Start explaining. Kelechi told her the truth. Before returning to care for his mother, he had designed under the initials KC. He had helped build Vision Studio, then walked away from its politics and fame. So, the man Emeka is desperate to meet is you? Yes. And he paid you to introduce him to yourself? Yes. Adana laughed until tears appeared. That is wicked. He earned it. Then her expression softened. She placed the old notebook in his hands. Go to the final. I left that world for a reason. Your hand never left it. These drawings are not a hobby. They are your life's work. What if I fail? Then you fail in public and come home to me. Your talent has never been the question, only your courage. The auditorium held 900 people. When Kelechi and Adana sat in the finalists section, Emeka called a steward. These people are in the wrong seats. The floor manager checked the list twice, then bowed slightly toward Kelechi. I apologize, sir. Mr. Casey is an honored finalist. Emeka stared at him. Him? You know less than you think, Adana said. When Kelechi's name was called, he walked to the stage without notes. This design is for people who have been ignored, he began. Poor families do not need pity buildings. They need safe homes with dignity. A child deserves a place to sleep without fear. A mother deserves a kitchen that does not shorten her life with smoke. A family deserves a door strong enough to give them peace at night. The structure uses local labor and common materials. It can be repeated without expensive imports. This is not charity. It is respect. The applause rose slowly, then filled the hall. Emeka stood. This is plagiarism. He displayed an online image that closely resembled Kelechi's design. Murmurs spread through the audience. My husband is not a thief, Adana said. Love has blinded you. No, truth has made me stand. Kelechi remained calm. Please show the date my entry was submitted. 14 days ago, the registrar answered. And the date this image appeared online? 4 days ago. The murmurs changed. How could I copy something posted 10 days after my sealed submission? Emeka claimed the artist might have created it earlier. Kelechi asked the chairman to open a confidential file delivered that morning. It contained evidence that his working drawings had been photographed, altered through image generation software, and posted under a false account. A young employee named Finton rose from the audience. Mr. Ume instructed me to create the account. He said a poor man would never be believed. Emeka shouted that he was lying. Kelechi lifted the envelope. Much like the 500,000 you gave me to introduce you to Mr. KC. Then Emeka stood. This man is not a junior worker. He is Mr. KC, founder of Vision Studios' design unit. Many people in this hall learned from work he created. He left fame to care for a sick mother, and you judged him by the room she lived in. The association permanently barred Emeka and opened a review of his firm. He begged Adana. I made a mistake. No, she said. You made a plan. Kelechi won the Gold Award. Afterward, Emeka asked him to return to Vision Studio. Not as before, he said. I will not abandon my wife or my mother. Then change the structure, Adana told him. You design buildings. Design a life that can hold both work and family. He returned on his own terms. That evening, Chief Gabriel called Kelechi into his study. You have proved yourself. Grandpa, I only did the work. Not because of Vision Studio, not because of the award. You proved yourself the first night you slept on that sofa, when there was nothing to gain and no one awake to thank you. The old man closed his hand over Kelechi's. A title can tell the world what a man does. Character tells the world what he is. Mama Ngozi heard the truth about Mr. KC and shook her head. So you carried this kind of name while allowing people to insult you. Mama, a name is not food. No, she replied, but respect is good soup. For the first time in many years, Kelechi laughed like a boy. The second wedding took place beneath a white tent on the lawn at Ridgeway Hill. 400 guests attended. The first marriage had been signed beside a sleeping woman under a borrowed name. This one began with both of them standing, awake and unafraid. Chief Gabriel cried before the ceremony and blamed the wind. Before the vows, he asked Mama Ngozi to stand. This woman raised the man who protected my granddaughter when she could not protect herself. She had no fortune, no influence, and no powerful family behind her. Yet she gave her son character. In my experience, that is harder to produce than wealth. 400 people rose for a woman who had spent most of her life entering through back doors. Mama Ngozi covered her face. Adana took the microphone. Our beginning was not beautiful. It began with fear, lies, and pain. But Kelechi respected me when I could not speak. He protected my dignity before he knew whether I would ever wake and thank him. There was nothing in it for him. That is how I know who he is. She turned toward him. I choose you today with open eyes. Kelechi's hand trembled when he accepted the microphone. I entered your life under a false name. You gave me the chance to live under my own. You defended me when I was accustomed to standing alone. You loved my mother as though she were yours. He looked at Adana, and all the noise beneath the tent seemed to disappear. I choose you today with the truth. Then he added, and if you feed me at dinner again, I promise not to choke. No promises, Adana said. Their marriage did not become perfect. Real marriages rarely do. Adana remained impatient. Kelechi still kept too much inside. She could silence a boardroom with one look, and he could frustrate her by answering a serious question with, "Of course." They argued about work, family, and whether he was permitted to redesign half the estate without asking. But the arguments no longer threatened the home. They became part of it. Kelechi returned to Vision Studio as creative director on conditions written by his own hand. He worked 4 days at the studio, and 1 day from a smaller office near Mama Ngozi's house. He refused projects built only to display wealth. He created a new division devoted to durable, low-cost housing. On his first morning, Amaka welcomed him back. He stopped at the first design board. "This finish is wrong." "It is elegant," a young architect said. "It makes the building appear expensive." "Is that a problem?" "It is when the people who need the building most look at it and believe it was not made for them." He tapped the kitchen plan. "This window must be larger. Cross ventilation, not a token opening. Smoke filled my mother's room for 20 years. We can add years to a woman's life for the price of one proper window." Then he pointed to the front door. "Test this 4 times. A door is not merely wood and metal. At 2 in the morning, it may be the only thing standing between a sleeping child and fear." The young architects stopped seeing his corrections as details. They began to understand that every line on a plan entered somebody's life. Adana also changed the Nwosu companies. She had been trained to read numbers, but Kelechi taught her to look for the human being trapped behind them. When a division recommended dismissing 14 workers after a delayed project, she refused to sign immediately. Find out what happened. If they stole, dismiss them. If they became ill, were badly managed, or faced a supply problem no one reported, give them support and one fair chance. Mr. Madhu, now serving on the advisory board, watched her quietly. "Between the two of you," he said, "wealth has learned a better meaning." "People deserve dignity," Adana replied. "The rest is arithmetic." 11 months after Kelechi returned to Vision Studio, the first 240 homes from his shelter design were completed on the east side of the city. The opening ceremony was small because he refused to turn poor families into decorations for wealthy guests. He stood beside Adana as a mother carried a cooking pot through one doorway and a father dragged a mattress through another. Children ran between unfinished gardens, shouting from windows that belonged to them. At the end of the row, a woman placed her hand on her own front door. "No one can chase us from here," she told her husband. "No one," he answered. "This one is ours." Kelechi looked away because his eyes had filled. "I remember living at another person's mercy," he told Adana. "You never fully unpack because you may be told to leave. You sleep lightly. You learn to apologize for taking up space." Adana slipped her hand into his. "These homes will be different. They must give more than shelter," he said. "They must give safety. There is a difference. It is the whole difference." The project expanded. 200 homes became 1,000. 1,000 became several communities, each with clinics, clean water, schools, and kitchens with wide windows. Kelechi never placed his name above the entrances. When reporters asked why, he said, "The people who live here should not have to pass beneath my name to enter their own homes." Mama Ngozi visited the first community and inspected every kitchen as though she personally intended to cook in all of them. "This window is good," she said. Kelechi smiled. "Only good? Do not let praise enter your head." Adana laughed. "Now I understand where he learned it. The Okafor case took 2 years to finish. Investigators found false contracts, bribes, diverted funds, kidnapping, and attempted murder. The evidence was clear, and the court was thorough. There was no company left at the end, no mansion, and no family reputation strong enough to hide behind. Mr. Okafor stood inside an empty room and said, "This cannot be only our fault." Mrs. Okafor answered, "Everything is gone." Neither of them understood that their collapse had not begun at the summit or the warehouse. It began years earlier, every time they called exploitation kindness, every time they mistook a servant's silence for permission, and every time they taught their son that wanting something made it his. Chinedu went to prison still insisting Kelechi had stolen his life, but Kelechi had stolen nothing. He had only accepted the life Chinedu had rejected, then treated it with more honor than Chinedu had ever possessed. Uchechi left the city and found work 200 miles away. Without Chinedu's money or Kelechi's devotion to carry her, she began again. Years later, she told a friend, "This life is slower, but I built it with my own hands." That may have been the first honest thing she ever truly owned. Chief Gabriel lived long enough to see Adana return to the boardroom. Kelechi's housing project spread across the country, and Mama Ngozi learned to sit on her own sofa without asking permission. He also lived long enough to become unbearable about grandchildren. One evening, Mama Ngozi stared at Adana's stomach through an entire dinner. "Mama," Adana said, "you have been looking for 11 minutes. I am only looking. You and Grandpa are exactly alike." Chief Gabriel smiled into his soup. "I have said nothing. You have said everything with your face." Months later, on the veranda, Mama Ngozi found Kelechi watching the old chief argue with a pregnant Adana about whether she was allowed to carry a watering can. "My son," she said, "do you remember when we had nothing?" "I remember." "And now?" Kelechi looked across the lawn. The old man was pretending not to worry. Adana was pretending not to enjoy his worry. Laughter moved through the house that once had 41 rooms and no joy in any of them. "Now we have more than things," Kelechi said. "We have a home." And that is the story of Kelechi Ochieke, the maid's son, the replacement, the man who entered a wealthy house beneath a borrowed name. The world later praised him as Mr. KC. It gave him awards, titles, interviews, and rooms full of applause. But he did not become great on the day the world discovered his talent. He was already great on the night he slept on a sofa beside a woman who could not thank him, protecting the dignity of someone who might never know what he had done. That is the measure worth remembering. Character is what remains when there is no reward, no witness, and absolutely nothing in it for you. Adana woke into a marriage built on deception, yet beneath the lie she found the one honest man in the room. Kelechi entered with another man's name, yet he stayed until he had earned the right to speak his own. Their marriage began as something forced upon them. It survived because both of them were finally given a choice to tell the truth, a choice to forgive without forgetting, a choice to use wealth not as a wall, but as a roof for those who had stood too long in the rain. Years later, Adana would tell people, "Our beginning was a lie, but our life became a choice." And Kelechi would look at her with the same quiet smile and say, "Of course." She would narrow her eyes. "Do not start with that phrase again." Then he would take her hand. "You are my home," he would say. And this time, no borrowed name stood between them.